message tonight, the coming world government. Look with me, if you will, in Revelation chapter 13 and verse 1.
Well, good day
And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast, or a world government system, rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the name of blasphemy is always tied in with Antichrist, the man of sin himself. John, in essence, by the Holy Spirit, states that he saw in his vision, in the future, a world government system, because a beast in Bible prophecy is a world government system, according to the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 3 and verse 17. And John said that this unusual world government system would be ruled with the name of blasphemy. Literally, Antichrist, the man of sin, is the blasphemous one. God uses that term to describe him constantly throughout the Word of God. So during the 7-year tribulation period, 3.5 years after Jesus comes at the rapture, there is going to be a world government system in full operation, and that world government system will be ruled by a man that you and I know to be called Antichrist. Verse 2 goes on to describe the characteristics and what this world government system is like. John says, "And the beast, or the world government system, which I saw, was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion." Or in other words, like the leopard of the Grecian Empire, it has one characteristic from each of the world empires that were before it. You say, well, there were 4 world empires, not just 3, because there's only 3 characteristics mentioned here. Yes, I know, but it also has the 4th one, because the 4th world empire, the great Roman Empire, its chief characteristic was the fact that it was dreadful and terrible, or it was a slaughterous, bloodthirsty empire. And Antichrist empire will be a slaughterous, bloodthirsty empire as well, because the Bible tells us in Revelation chapter 20, he'll cut off the heads of anyone who refuses to receive the mark, the name, or the number of his world government system. But first, there are 3 characteristics mentioned by John, by the Holy Spirit. He states that it have the characteristic of a leopard, swiftness in his conquering ability. Because you see, the world government system of Antichrist will only be in existence for 3.5 years, that's all. And then it'll come to an end as Jesus Christ, the Son of God, comes from heaven, riding upon a white horse. He will literally challenge Antichrist and his world government system and his world forces, and Jesus, with a spoken word of his mouth, will slaughter the armies of the world that will be gathered together against him in the plains of Megiddo in Israel as we know it. And the slaughter will be so great that the blood will flow to the bridles of the horses. So Antichrist will have to do everything he does quickly. So he has the swift conquering ability of a leopard, like the great Grecian Empire had. Then notice it says also that his feet were as the feet of a bear. The bear, tenacious in its stand. The description of the great Medo-Persian Empire, world government system that refused to change the law once it had been set up and established. They could never change it. Nobody could cause it to back down. And like a bear, this world government system will refuse to back down for anyone. It'll stand on its hind legs and take all comers. And then also, it will even change the laws of the world the way it wants it, the way its leader wants it. And of course, the leader is none other than Antichrist himself. And then notice it says, in his mouth is as the mouth of a lion. Now, the lion is the king of the beast. It was also the description of the great Babylonian Empire. So here is the most powerful of all the world government systems. This world government system under Antichrist, it will be a unbelievably powerful system, but the thing that amazes us is the fact that it was primarily its mouth that was like the lion, God said. In other words, this world government system will have such unusual power that people will be afraid of it. They'll be afraid to even challenge it. And consequently, when he speaks, the whole world will listen. Whatever he says goes. His mouth will be as the lion. Matter of fact, verse 4 tells us in the middle of verse 4, and they worship the beast, literally the leader of the world government system, Antichrist, saying, who is like unto the beast, and who is able to make war with him? An unusual world government system. Powerful. Can't make war with this guy and win. Where did Antichrist, the leader of the world government system, where did he get his unusual power? Well, the last phrase in verse 2 tells us, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat or his throne and great authority. So the Bible says that Antichrist got his power from the dragon. If you'll turn back to chapter 12, you're in chapter 13. Look in chapter 12 and verse 9 of the book of Revelation, and you'll find where Antichrist got his power. He got it from the dragon. God said in chapter 13 and verse 2, but in chapter 12, verse 9, we find the description, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. So in essence, who is this man that God calls Antichrist? He is nothing more than a human being possessed and empowered by the devil himself. Satan possession, not demon possession. You say, what's the difference? Well, Satan is more powerful than all of his demons put together. So here is a supernatural, a superhuman being, so to speak, a man that will be able to perform unbelievable miracles. And by the way, my Bible tells me that in the last days, literally the last of the last days, that miracles will become very, very common. But the reason the miracles will become so common is because that Antichrist and the false prophet in the power of the devil will be performing them. And miracles have suddenly become big deal throughout America and the entire world. And it's simple. We're just getting ready for the tribulation period. But then also, if you'll notice that in the United States of America, we are unbelievably possessed with superhuman beings. Movies like Superman have become gigantic attractions. Programs like $6 Million Men, and so forth. And a lot of people smile and they laugh and say, well, that's kind of cute, isn't it? No, what most people don't understand, even what most Christians don't understand, is that nothing happens accidentally. As a matter of fact, the whole world and everything that's ever happened, if you understand the Bible, it'll all fit, because those who understand the Word of God realize that everything about the world, and even things that affect our lives day by day, is nothing more than a contest between God in heaven and Satan himself. This whole business is a battle of God and Satan. And Satan is trying to get people ready for a superman. And Antichrist will be a human being with supernatural power, even able to cause fire to fall down from heaven in the sight of men, and even perform greater things than that. And we're ready for that kind of guy right now. The world is getting ready for a one-world government system. Its leader will be a man that God calls Antichrist. That man is a human being possessed by Satan himself to perform unbelievable miracles. He'll be so powerful. Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16 tells us that he will cause, Antichrist will cause all the people of the world, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to do what? To receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or unless he had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Antichrist will force everyone in the world to receive the mark, the name, or the number of his world government system in the middle of the tribulation period for sure. And then we find in verse 18 what the number of that world government system will be. Here is wisdom. John speaks by the Holy Spirit. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. And his number is 666, or his number is 666, or his number is 666. We have the description of a world government system in the Bible that will be ruled by a man that God calls Antichrist. And the thing that is so amazing to me, and has been for 10 years now, especially the last 10 years, we've been preaching the message on the coming world government. The thing that is so amazing to me is that we can see in our nation and around the world the preparations for the acceptance of the very same kind of world government system with the very same characteristics as the one that God describes in the Bible that Antichrist will be ruler of for 3.5 years during the tribulation period. We are being prepared to accept that very same kind of world government system. And if I can prove that, if I can show you from the Word of God and from things in current events happening in our nation as well as around the world that we are getting ready for the very same kind of world government system, then in essence what I have done is proven that it can't be long till Jesus comes. Now Jesus is coming. This thing is unbelievably real, and it's unbelievably near. When I first began preaching the message on the coming world government system, A lot of people thought we were way off base. Some people thought we were just downright crazy, didn't know what we was talking about. Because a lot of the things we stated that were taking place and things that were planned for the future of a world government system, a lot of them were still unknown and being quietly done in dark places and in closed quarters. But not anymore. The move towards a world government system is out in the open, so much so that a president of the United States of America could literally condemn to death several million people on an island called Taiwan, and nobody stopped him. We are ready for a one world government system. There are a few steps that have yet to be taken in order to get the thing established, but thank God, I don't care when the thing starts, because 3.5 years before that world government system is forced on the people of the world, I'm going home to be with Jesus. Now, Jesus is coming, and I want to prove that by proving that we are getting ready for a world government system. But Jesus will come and take all saved people home to be with Him 3.5 years before it starts, even by force. All right. Now then, if you're going to have a world government system, then you're going to have world leaders for it. And for what it's worth, the Bible does teach us that there will be some countries that will not be for a world government system. They don't mind going along with the standards of the world government system and even some of the system itself. But when the man called Antichrist, that human being possessed by Satan in the middle of the tribulation period, leaves his offices in Europe and goes to Jerusalem, enters into the temple, into the Holy of Holies of that temple, kicks over the altar of God and sets up a statue or an image of himself in the Holy of Holies and demands that the world worship him as God, when he says, I'm going to be world ruler, that's when two nations, dead sure, will literally throw a fit, will balk against the whole thing, and those two nations, one of them is called Russia and the other is called Red China. Now, many Americans are constantly asking us questions concerning the fact of, will Russia attack Red China? Will Red China declare war on Russia? Will it be a bloodthirsty thing there? Or will they make peace with each other and join together in one big fist? No. No, neither one of those things will happen. They will remain independent, but they are not going to attack each other because that's utterly useless. There's no reason to do that. Because you see, you don't have to declare war on China for Russia to be able to try to rule the world. Russia and China doesn't have to declare war on Russia in order to try to rule the world. The only way you're going to be able to rule the world, as we are now hearing constantly, is to control the Middle East. Oil is the key. And whether there's a real energy crisis or not really doesn't matter to a hill of beans. Because even if there isn't one and the whole thing's a hoax, the thing that counts is that all the countries of the world believe it's real. And they believe, even as it was reported in the newspaper on yesterday, as I read the Toledo Blade, we read concerning the fact that oil and the fear of the fact that it was running out, and by the way, that was today's paper, not yesterday's, but the fear that oil supplies are not as great as we once thought, and even Saudi Arabia is not going to be able to produce as much oil as we had anticipated, and their supplies will even start running out in the latter part of 1980. The fact is that we know that he who controls the oil can control the world. And so the eyes of the world are on the Middle East right now. Russia and Red China will both refuse to go along with the world government leader. They won't mind accepting the world money system. They won't mind accepting the standards of the world government system. But when the guy says, we're going to rule the world, I will, then they say, no, you won't, we will. And that's when the war breaks out in the middle of the tribulation period. But we're ready for it right now. The pressures are on us. So we stated even just a few weeks ago, President Jimmy Carter made the statement that America is ready to go to war to defend our oil interest in the Middle East. This whole thing is just sitting on a powder keg. We're on the brink of disaster right now. But thank God World War III is not going to start until 3.5 years after I go home to be with Jesus. Jesus is coming. All right. So, world leaders for it. Russia and Red China dead sure won't be for the world government system. They'll balk against it and fight it. Of course, Russia immediately will be destroyed. Red China will be destroyed later. What about the other countries? In Europe, the common market countries are 100%. The leaders of those 9 countries are 100% for the establishment of a world government system. A few months ago, Valéry Giscard d'Estaing, the president of France, put out a book, had a book published concerning the future of the European common market and the world. And in his book that I read just a few weeks ago, he made the statement that the European common market leaders are for a joining together into a world tribunal idea, because there is no way that the world can exist without a united world government idea. He then also went on to state later in his book that in order for that thing to operate effectively, he is encouraging, along with other leaders of common market countries, encouraging the United States of America to join the European common market. Now, the Bible tells us that during the 7-year tribulation period, there will be a league of 10 nations. Daniel's book of prophecy describes these 10 nations. We read just a brief mention of them here in chapter 13 of Revelation. And God says that that league of 10 nations will be the military base, so to speak, for the man called Antichrist. For the first 3.5 years of the 7-year tribulation period, Antichrist will be the head of these 10 nations. He will be their leader. And then in the middle of the tribulation period, he will set up by force a world government system. Now, as we stated, there are 9 countries in the European common market already in position. God said there had to be 10. And apparently the United States of America is going to be the 10th nation in the European common market. Senators and congressmen tell us that it's just a matter of time before it becomes a reality. Watch this. World government leaders, rather national world leaders, yes, they're for it. What about the United States of America? What about our own president, Jimmy Carter? Is he for a world government system or is he against it? Jimmy Carter is 100% for a world government system. As a matter of fact, Jimmy Carter has been taking steps to literally bring about a world government system in an amazing way. And I think very probably one of the most major things that he has done, aside from the giving away of the Panama Canal, which was a traitorous act for anybody to do, but he did it. That'd be like giving away the state of Rhode Island. There is no difference. That was American territory. That was our canal. We built it, paid for it. We lost more lives building the Panama Canal than we lost in the entire Vietnam War. And now we give it to them, and then we're going to pay them to take care of it. The whole thing's unreal. But on January the 1st, 1979, I guess the ultimate atrocity took place. The United States of America, not just on the word of the President, but the United States of America as a whole, in our representatives and leaders in Washington, senators and congressmen, agreed and literally gave several million free Chinese people back to a communist country called Red China. You say, preacher, they didn't do that. It's the same thing. Brother, when we backed away from these people that have been our friends for years, that we have helped and they have helped us, we turned our back on them, we as good as signed their death warrant. But the reason the whole thing took place, and if you've listened to the news in the first half of this year, 1979, you can pay attention to it, you can listen on throughout the rest of the year, it's going to come out in the open more and more, but the whole basic reason we did it is because Red China must be prepared for a world government system. And Red China, we're not going to make money selling things to Red China because they're too poor. But if you listen what our leaders are saying, if nothing else, what we're going to be able to do is to help Red China achieve computer technology that will advance a world principle. And the world principle and the new world idea that they're talking about is a world government system. You can't have a world government system operating around the world unless everyone's got computer technology. And Red China is far behind in that, but they believe they can take care of the thing in a short matter of years, a fistful at the most. Red China can be set up. Where are we headed? We are headed for a one world government system. Our own president is for it. Many people say, how can you be sure about that? It's simple. For 3.5 years, prior to running for the presidency of the United States of America, Jimmy Carter was a member of an organization, a little-known organization called the Trilateral Commission. Now, the Trilateral Commission, we've got 2 things here on it. The Trilateral Commission, in its charter, the whole stated purpose of the Trilateral Commission is to set up and establish a world government system. A new world order is the term that they use, but it means a world government system. The Trilateral Commission was an organization designed and set up by 2 men, one of them called David Rockefeller, the other called Zbigniew Brzezinski. David Rockefeller, by the way, is the one that we should have been watching for years. And those in the know were keeping their eye on him. Many people thought that Nelson Rockefeller was the real problem in America. Nelson Rockefeller, a member of the world organization called the Bilderbergers, whose whole purpose of existence is to establish a world government system. Nelson Rockefeller was nothing more than a front man, so to speak. He was the guy that kept the attention on himself so that the people behind the scenes, like David Rockefeller, the brother of Nelson Rockefeller, could silently, quietly, but deliberately work towards establishing a world government system. The death of Nelson Rockefeller in January of 1979 has not slowed down one step of the process towards establishing a world government system. David Rockefeller is right now very probably the most powerful man in the world today, and he is working feverishly to set up a world government system. The Trilateral Commission, again, the organization set up to establish a new world order. Jimmy Carter was a member of that organization for 3.5 years before he became president. As a matter of fact, in case there is any question as to whether or not Jimmy Carter still has any allegiance to the Trilateral Commission and the goal of a world government system, it was erased when he picked his private cabinet, even his own vice presidential running mate. You see, if Jimmy Carter was not going to help establish a world government system, then all he had to do was take the advice of Hamilton Jordan. Hamilton Jordan, we have been told, spoke to Jimmy Carter before the big election campaign in the battle against Gerald Ford. And he said, look, you've got the Democratic nomination. He said, pick people to be around you as your cabinet members and so forth. You pick people that have absolutely nothing to do with the Trilateral Commission so Americans will know that you are going to be their president and not a small group of men. That you won't be a yes man. He didn't pay too much attention to that advice because the list of folks of Jimmy Carter's private cabinet, first of all beginning with Vice President Walter Mondale is a member of the Trilateral Commission. But out of 30-some-odd members of Jimmy Carter's personal cabinet that you did not elect, that were picked personally by him, over two dozen of them are members of the Trilateral Commission. Names like Secretary of State Cyrus Vance is a member of the Trilateral Commission. Secretary of Defense Harold Brown is a member of the Trilateral Commission. Secretary of the Treasury Michael Blumenthal is a member of the Trilateral Commission. National Security Chief, the National Security Advisor, Zbigniew Brzezinski, you're hearing his name more and more, is not only a member of the Trilateral Commission, but he and David Rockefeller organized the thing and mapped it out. The disarmament negotiator Paul Warnke in the SALT talks was a member of the Trilateral Commission. Andrew Young, the ambassador to the United Nations, was picked not because he's a black, but because he's a member of the Trilateral Commission. And that's just to name a few. Hey, the leaders of our own country are for the establishment of a world government system. And if you're going to have a world government system, world leaders have got to be for it. And yet we can see everything falling into place right now. Now, I've done this before, but I want to do it again because this thing is suddenly becoming very important. If you have a dollar bill, I want you to take one out and look at it, if you would, please. Take out a $1 bill, and I want you to look at the back of it. Y'all got a dollar bill between you? You want to share that? In the mouth of 200 or 300 witnesses, the thing has been established that Brother Klein's got my dollar over there. Look at the back of the $1 bill. I want to show you something. Not spend a great deal of time on it. I'll show you something very unusual that you can start watching for. This thing is becoming very, very real. On the back of the $1 bill, you have two circles. I want to show you that this thing of a world government idea has been planned for a long time and is almost near fulfillment. The two circles on the back of the dollar bill, the one on the left has a pyramid in the circle. Underneath it, it says the Great Seal. The circle on the right has the American Eagle emblem inside, and it says of the United States. You say, well, that's for artistic design, you know, for balance, so it'll look nice on the back. It really means the Great Seal of the United States. Okay, I'm going to prove to you that the statement, the Great Seal, is not referring to the United States at all. It's referring to the pyramid, the emblem there, not to the American Eagle. And it is the symbol of the world government system, the pyramid with a separated tip. Look inside the circle at the pyramid. Notice that on the base of the pyramid there are Roman numerals. The Roman numerals on the base of the pyramid would figure out to be 1776. You say, of course, July 4th, 1776. No. The date that this emblem appeared, the pyramid with the separated tip, with the illuminated eye in the middle of that tip, was May the 1st, 1776. On May the 1st, an organization called the Illuminati came into existence. Now, the information that backs up this idea is found in a book called Pawns in the Game, written by Richard Guy Carr, which at one time could be purchased in American Opinion bookstores, but is now out of print. But that book is in circulation for those who'd like to verify it. But I want to prove to you that the pyramid with a separated tip is the emblem of the world government system. If you look at the pyramid, the idea is that over 200 years ago, a world government idea was a big idea. Like the pyramid, big at the bottom, and then over the years it narrows down until it comes to the separated tip. And notice that the tip is, first of all, separated from the rest of the pyramid, and then secondly, it is in the shape of a triangle. There is an eye inside that triangle with illuminating light rays coming from it. Now, in 1776, anytime you saw an eye with illuminating rays coming from it, it always represented the all-seeing eye of God. That is, unless it was placed inside a triangle tip. Anytime it was inside a triangle tip, it stood for the all-seeing eye of Satan. Here we have Satan's plan for a world government system, because the Latin words above the pyramid and below it literally promote the establishment of a new world order or a one world government system. Now watch. Notice that the tip is separated from the rest of the pyramid. It's in the shape of a triangle. In July of 1973, a brand new organization came into existence designed by David Rockefeller and Zbigniew Brzezinski called the Trilateral Commission. Allow me to change that word because the word trilateral means triangular commission. The tip of the pyramid, there are 3 points on that triangle. One point, if you were to put a dot at New York City, which not only represents the United States of America, but also includes Canada in this, and Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada, even a few days ago, made the statement publicly that we must push for a world uniting, a world order. We are moving towards the establishment of it. Canada is included in the United States, North America, in other words. That's one tip. If you would then put a dot in Brussels, Belgium, the headquarters of the European Common Market are located there, and then place another dot at Tokyo, Japan, and then take a ruler and draw a straight line from New York to Brussels, and from Brussels to Japan, and from Japan back to New York, you would have a perfect triangle. The emblem of the world government system, the triangle or the Trilateral Commission, is nothing less than the final step before the establishment of a world government system. Now, this emblem is constantly becoming more popular and being seen throughout the United States of America. In August of 1978, my wife Betty and I, in Rich's department store in downtown Atlanta, Georgia, had closed out the summer. I take my family with me all summer long. And we stopped in there to do our school shopping for the kids' clothes. And when we walked through one of the fancy departments, headed for the children's departments, Betty saw it. I didn't even see it. We walked through a department from the parking garage, a department that had all kinds of knickknacks and things that you hang on your walls and things that you put on tables as decorations and so forth. And as we rounded the corner to leave that department, Betty looked down, and on an end table were several things, but the one thing that caught her attention was a beautiful silver plate. It looked like a plate that you would eat food on, but it was not. It was a plate that was strictly used for decoration. It was sitting on a pedestal resting on this end table. In the center of the plate was the pyramid with the separated tip and the Latin words. On the border area around the center of that plate, engraved in bold letters, was the statement, "The Great Seal of the United States of America." Now, you and I both know that the pyramid is not the Great Seal of the United States of America. But yet, it is the symbol of the Great Seal of the New World Order. We are getting ready for a world government system. This thing can be seen constantly on the CBS Evening News, the pyramid and separated tip. as news reporters like Walter Cronkite give the news day in and day out. We are being pushed to accept a world government system whether we like it or not. And whenever I see these things taking shape and coming out in the public eye even more, it proves to me that, thank God, it can't be long until Jesus comes. Jesus is coming. You can put your dollar up. I wouldn't want anybody to worry about it. Now look up here. The world leaders, group of world leaders that are pushing us for a world government system, and the Trilateral Commission is a small part of that organization. That group of world leaders, financial leaders, is called the Bilderbergers. And recently, the Bilderbergers met and established a new target date for the establishment of a world government system. The original target date a few years back had been set for the latter part of 1980, but there have been problems, there have been delays. And the new target date, interesting enough, that the Bilderbergers have set for the establishment of a new world order, but they have included an extra statement this time. That's where they stopped the last time. They said, we'll set up a world government system by the end of 1980. That's our target date. But now they've included one more statement. Here it is. The Bilderbergers announced that a new target date for the establishment of a new world order and the forced acceptance of the number 666 on the back of the right hand and on the forehead has now been targeted for sometime during 1985. They have come out in the open, and they are stating that 666 is the number emblem of their world system. Hear me. I don't know if they'll get the thing set up in 1985 or not. Whether it's 85, 86, 87, 88, or beyond, I don't know. But just between you, me, and the fence post, I could care less, because thank God 3.5 years before it is forced on the world, I'm going home to be with Jesus. Jesus is coming. Now, if you're going to have a world government system, you're also going to have standards that the entire world will accept. Standards like the weights and measurement standard called the metric system. The metric system has now officially, as of just a few weeks ago, been totally accepted by Canada. The United States of America and Canada were the last two major nations of the world to have this system forced upon them. Canadians are still having problems getting used to it, as we were in Winnipeg just a couple of weeks ago. But this metric system is being forced on America whether we want it or not. And the reason is because that is the standard of weights and measurements for the world government system of Antichrist. Because his world government system will be the old Roman Empire come back from the dead, and the old Roman Empire comprised the European countries, the European territory primarily, and the European standard of weights and measurements is the metric system. That's why you're seeing signs constantly to say, think metric. That's why you drive down not only interstates now, but you drive down even state roads and you see signs that tell you the next town is so many miles away, but also so many kilometers. Every automobile in the United States of America now has on the odometer the gauge for how fast you're traveling. They not only have miles per hour, but they have a line drawn under that and so many kilometers per hour underneath. In Chattanooga, Tennessee, you now drive 89 kilometers per hour through Chattanooga, Tennessee on Interstate 24. Everywhere you turn, metrics are being pushed on us. In the stores, you constantly see the comparisons. So many ounces on one side of a box, a bottle, a can, but then you'll see so many grams listed on the other. The new bottles, liter size now, instead of the old ounces, are common knowledge. Everything is being rushed because, you see, the United States government hopes to force the acceptance of the metric system by the end of 1980 still in the United States of America, whether we like it or not. You can't even understand the weather anymore. It's no longer Fahrenheit, now it's Celsius, and the whole thing doesn't make sense. Most Americans say, how come? We don't want it, we don't like it. And it has created some problems and even some delays. But whether we like it or not, it's going to be accepted in America because that is the standard of weights and measurements for the entire world government system. But if you're going to have a world government system, you not only have to have a standard for weights and measurements, have to have leaders in different countries of the world for it, but you also have to have a world money system. Now I'm going to close on this idea, so stay with me, because this is going to put everything together. The one world money system has been in its first stages in the United States of America ever since January of 1976. That world money system, accepted by 128 nations meeting in Kingston, Jamaica, the United States of America was the largest nation meeting in that group. And each one of the nations agreed to accept special drawing rights as the new world money system. Special drawing rights, or SDRs as bankers call them, is the new world money system. Now, it is not in full effect because you cannot have the thing in full effect until everybody is ready to use it. And in the United States of America, we're one of the slower ones about it. We're dragging our feet. Europe is almost totally prepared to accept it. Bankers that I talk to constantly tell me that the SDR system is being rapidly implemented, and right now there is something like 70, even possibly 75% of the banks in America that are now ready to put into operation special drawing rights. They still are keeping quiet about it because Americans are very pessimistic, and they don't like change, especially abrupt changes. And so they want the thing ready before they spring it on the American public. Special drawing rights are already being used for buying oil in the Middle East. America and other countries no longer buy oil with gold. The Arabs are not accepting gold, they're not accepting silver for oil payments. The only thing they're accepting are special drawing rights. And the reason for that is that gold is going to become totally worthless. You say, how? How can that ever happen? Well, it's simple. You see, if you're going to have a new world money system where everybody uses the same kind of money system, then you're going to have to destroy the existing money and buying systems that the world now has. That's the reason we're seeing the devaluation of the American dollar in the different countries of the world. Your dollar, as Philip Crane, presidential candidate for the upcoming election, as he travels around the country, he holds a $1 bill up and he says, "I'd like you to see the new J.C. Penney." He means Jimmy Carter's penny. Now, he's exaggerating a little bit because the dollar is worth more than a penny. As a matter of fact, it's worth, counting all things, not only inflation but recession and counting all figures, the dollar right now is worth approximately 10.8 cents. That's why it takes so many of them to buy anything. But slowly and deliberately, this thing is becoming worthless. But we're seeing not only American money being inflated and destroyed, but even other countries are the same way. And overnight, the monies of the world are going to become totally worthless. There'll be a crash, and all of the money systems of the world will be completely destroyed. And everyone will then accept the new world money system of special drawing rights, or SDRs. You say, "Preacher, I don't understand what you mean, SDRs. You keep saying special drawing rights. What is it? What do you mean?" Okay, it's called credit at your bank. That's the explanation for it. In other words, once this new money system goes into effect, nobody will carry cash. Checks, payroll checks will be completely done away with. And by the way, the fact is that this is the final year for voluntary compliance of allowing your employer to deposit your paycheck straight into your bank account. If you have not already given them permission to do so, you'll have to do so as the start of next year. Barron's, the National Business and Financial Weekly for the Dow Jones Incorporated a few weeks back, once again re-emphasized the idea that even personal checks will be done away with in a very short while. You say, how are you going to buy and sell? Well, you'll buy and sell with credit at your bank. When you work at a job and you receive a check, instead of receiving a check, your company, with a computer in their office, will electronically credit your bank account and the computer in the bank with so much buying power. Not one dime changed hands. It's bookkeeping. That's all it is. Computer bookkeeping. That's credit at your bank. And then you will just, quote unquote, buy and sell with numbers, and certain amounts will be deducted from those computer books. That's the way it'll work. And by the way, by the end of this summer, 1979, every person on Social Security will have their check electronically deposited straight into your bank account, whether you want it or not. And I have, bless their heart, I have little old ladies come to me constantly on Social Security, very worried and very upset, and they're asking, should we let them do it? I want you to understand, there is nothing wrong with computer banking. The buying and selling through computers and using numbers instead of cash and checks is a good idea. There's nothing wrong with the system itself. So don't worry about them depositing your Social Security check straight into your bank account. It will even save you having to go to the bank. It'll keep it from being lost. It's a good idea. And I want you to understand that. So don't get up in arms and try to get about 30,000 little old ladies and go and march on Washington, and tell them you ain't getting my check, Don't do anything like that, because it's all right. It'll be okay. Okay. Cash, checks will be totally, completely done away with. But so will gold. In New York City, there is a twin tower building called the World Trade Center. It is the financial center of the world. In the trade building number 2, on the 106th floor, there is an observation floor. That whole floor is a hallway that goes around the outside edge of the building. Of course, it's inside the building, naturally. But a hallway that goes completely around the building, and windows so that you can go up there and overlook Manhattan or New York City, the Statue of Liberty, the Empire State Building, the whole thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful sight. Now, for those that would like to do so, you can take the escalator and go on up a little higher and get on top of the building outside and look off the top of the building at the city. And it's beautiful. But what most Americans don't know is that on the 106th floor of the World Trade Center, number 2, on the walls of the hallway completely circling that building is printed almost everything I've been preaching for 10 years. Almost word for word. Statements to the effect that gold will soon become worthless. It's on the walls. And yet Americans are buying gold like it's going out of style. What they don't realize, it is going out of style. It's not going to be any good at all. And yet it's right there for anybody to read, but everybody's so busy looking out the windows, they don't even read the walls. All kinds of displays and designs. It shows different monies of the world, different coincides. It shows the different minerals that are used, the gold and silver and what have you, copper and different things, even shells. It has displays of those that were used for money in some countries. But then on the walls, big, huge paragraphs, paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. Everything I preach is on the wall. Not only the fact that gold is soon going to become worthless, silver will become worthless, but it also states that very soon cash will be done away with, and everyone will use a special drawing rights system for buying and selling. This SDR system will be the way people will buy and sell with numbers, and that system later, as it'll be first used with cards, that system later will be changed so that you don't even need a card, because a new innovative idea, and that's the only thing they didn't say out loud, a new innovative idea will be used, and the new innovative idea is the numbers on the back of the right hand or the forehead. I was in Florida a few weeks back, and I checked once again just to see how the tests were going on the liquid silicone that is being injected under human flesh in a pharmaceutical firm in Orlando, Florida. A born-again Christian. I refuse to give his name or the name of the company. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But this particular company in Orlando is performing special tests for the United States government on a liquid silicone or a liquid plastic. It is being injected underneath the skin, only 2 places on human beings, underneath the skin of the back of the right hand and underneath the skin of the forehead. It is liquid. They use syringes like doctors give shots to put it under the skin. Once it's under the skin, it spreads out over the back of the hand, underneath the skin, and over the forehead. Once it is spread to a certain depth, in other words, to a certain thickness, very thin, it then hardens. Not like a hard plastic that you could drop and crack and break, but it hardens like a very strong or durable vinyl. It's flexible. That way, when you wiggle your fingers, it'll wiggle too. When you wrinkle your forehead, it'll wrinkle too, and then take back the original shape when you get rid of the wrinkles. The man that told me this over a year and a half ago, he stated that the whole purpose of this idea was once it hardened, they then took a laser gun and they were burning numbers on the hardened silicone underneath the skin. The numbers are not on the skin, it's on the silicone out of sight under the skin. I thought it was very interesting because we was talking with some folks this week. Matter of fact, just last night, I believe it was. The night before last, rather. And they pointed out something in verse 16. Look at chapter 13 and verse 16 again. Verse 16, and he causeth all, Antichrist and the false prophet, his religious leader, he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to do what? To receive a mark, where? In their right hand, or in their forehead. Now, the word in there literally is the idea of in or on, either way. And this is why we always state the number will be on the back of the right hand or on the forehead. But the word even means within. And this is the very thing that is being tested right now. The tests are going so unbelievably well. This number, verse 17 says, will make it possible for people to buy and sell, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or unless he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. The number that is being tested in Florida is going to be used for the purpose of buying and selling. For a while, everyone will continue to use credit cards, but you are eventually, very soon now, you're going to be getting rid of most of your credit cards. If you've not already received Visa, which is the major World Bank card, you will get one. And there's nothing wrong with it. Don't be afraid of it. MasterCharge has decided not to use the term signet, but they have decided to just keep the emblem and the name MasterCharge. There's debate about that went on for months, and they have recently decided just to keep what they've got. So the two major cards that everyone in the world will use for all buying and selling will be Visa and MasterCharge, World Bank cards. After a while, everyone, once those cards are in full operation, everyone will turn in all of their oil company cards, all of their department store cards. Everyone will just use one of those two cards. And then a little bit later, everyone will turn in those cards because they can be lost and they can be stolen. But if you put a number on the person, on their body, in it, then you can't lose it. And it can't be stolen. The numbers on the back of the right hand and the forehead, the tests are going very, very well. The government is very near to trying some sample operation in test cities to let people have the number use for buying and selling from the hand to the forehead. How will it show up? The number will only show up through infrared cameras that will be placed at all of the computer cash registers that you see in your department stores, grocery stores, and whatever. That little electronic light you see in a pencil with a little red light on the end of it that many cashiers use, checkout people use whenever they total your bill in department stores, that is a miniature electronic infrared camera. They do that now. You watch it and you're sitting there thinking, isn't that cute? And what you are doing, you are being programmed to accept a light being pointed at you, because they'll even touch it and show you that it cannot hurt you. And that way later you'll not be afraid to have your hand or your forehead photographed with an electronic camera. The way it works is that whenever you go through the checkout line, instead of writing a check or paying cash, electronically, everything goes from the cash register in the store, whether department or grocery store. It goes from that electronic computer cash register to your bank. It goes to your computer bookkeeping, takes the amount of the bill off of your books, goes to the bank where the store does its business, puts it on their books, computer books, and then comes back to the store, and a light comes on letting them know that you had enough money, enough credit in your bank to pay for your groceries or for your goods, whatever it was, and the whole thing takes less than 8 seconds. It's called Electronic Funds Transfer System, and it's working like a charm. It also is being used to prove that you have money in your account so that they will cash your check. It's stopping the problem of bouncing checks. The whole idea is just about here. Again, in Hempstead, New York, it is already operating. You don't even use credit cards. You pick up a small computer, looks like a calculator. You punch in your secret code, your account number. You punch in the amount of your bill. This thing is a little bitty thing you hold in your hand. It tells the cash register what to do. It electronically is recorded in the cash register there in the store in Hempstead, New York. Nobody, a town of 40,000 people, nobody carries cash or writes checks. Even in the burger chains they do this. But they punch in the amount of the purchase, whatever it is. It goes to that cash register that then goes to your bank, takes that off of your books, goes to the bank that the company that you're in does their business and comes back, and a little light comes on proving you paid your bill, and the thing took 7 seconds. They're already using it. I have here an article taken from the U.S. News and World Report dated February the 12th, 1979. An article that is entitled, An Interview with Charles L. Brown, Chairman of the American Telephone and Telegraph Company. The article is headlined, The Phone in Your Future, What's in Store? This man goes on to state in this article here that you, in the future, will not only pay your bills by picking up your telephone and pushing the 2 extra buttons on the bottom of the push-button telephone. And by the way, every American will have to accept the push-button telephone. All dial phones will be completely done away with by the end of 1980, so that everyone can pay their bills by pushing the buttons on the phone. The bills you pay in the department store is through the computer cash registers, go straight to your bank. But what about the bills you normally mail through you send through the mail, like the water bill, the electric bill, and stuff like that? Oh, you pick up your phone. You push a little thing that looks like tic-tac-toe design. Telephone rings, someone answers. On the other end, you're talking to a computer. You're not talking to a person. The computer states for you to electronically record your account number. You do that by pushing the numbers on the buttons that you would usually push to dial some friend. Then to pay your bills, a certain number has been given to every account that you have. You do this at the bank. You set it up. Like the electric company might be account number 123. You say, I want to pay my electric bill. Let's say I want to pay account number 123. How much you want to pay? You punch in the amount that you want to pay. Let's say the thing, I used to say $10.36. Let's say it's $250. It's almost real, isn't it? How are you going to punch in $250.18? Well, it's simple. You punch 250. For the decimal point, you punch the little star that has 6 points on the bottom of the left-hand bottom of your phone. That's your decimal point. Punch that, and then punch 18. $250, decimal point, 18 cents. You pay all of your bills like that. The computer, after you have punched a button similar to what you have on your 24-hour banking service outside. Is there any other business you want to do? If not, punch a certain button again. You punch that button, instructed by the computer. The computer then processes the whole thing, tells you your bills have just been paid, that amount has been deducted from your account, thank you for your business, and the computer hangs up on you. Hey, this man states here that you will also be able to shop without ever leaving your house. Phone-o-vision is coming. You say, a long way off, hogwash. He went on to state you not only pay all your bills, you'll not only go shopping, but you'll be able to take courses in ceramics and things like that right there in your living room looking at your phone-o-vision. And he says, this thing, how far in the future before these things are ready? He shocked the reporter by stating, oh, it's already ready. We could put it up tomorrow, but Americans aren't ready. We have to slowly get them to accept it. They have to be programmed to like it. It would be too quick to try to set it up this year. But he said, we can do it tomorrow. We've got all the equipment. The terminals are even already hooked up all over the nation. But he said, you can expect everyone to be doing it in 5 years maximum. Now I close with this idea. Here it comes. Verse 18 told us the number of the world government system is 666. The number 666 has been cropping up all over the United States of America for the last year and a half, and you can expect it to increase. We mentioned before about the rulers, the metric rulers now that have the number 666 in the middle of them right here. We told you about the card for the Government Service Employees Medicaid Division. This is not the Medicaid for the private citizen, but this is a card for the Government Service Employees Medicaid for people who are in government employee. The Medicaid department, this card here, is given to every person who is a government service employee. This card has the name of the person who gave it to me, which I don't reveal. It has a serial number of that person as well. It then has a file number, and then it has the new department number for the Government Service Employees Medicaid Department, which is 666. I have here a photograph of the IRS Treasury Department's Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Division, a big blown-up photograph, and this IRS Treasury Department badge on the very bottom on every badge carried by every member of this division are the numbers 666. We have here the new W-2 form instructions concerning the fact of filling out your W-2 forms for the year 1979. Right now, this thing is in circulation, and for the first time, the instruction reads concerning one particular idea in filling out W-2 forms, Box 12, IRR codes for IRS use. If Box 6 is an IRA payment, enter the number 666. All payments showing on this thing, form will be used from this date forward. The numbers will follow 666. Computers in Sears, Belk's, Montgomery Ward's, J.C. Penney's, all over this nation and around the world, computers do inventory as well as do the business of transferring monies from different accounts. Charge account records are kept and so forth. And the only way you can get the giant computers to operate, not the cashier, not the one that you would see in the little place, but in the main offices where all of the business is done for each one, then hooked up by telephone cable to each one of the individual stores. Every last one of those computers, the only way you can get it to operate or get it to change its mind and reprogram it is to punch 3 numbers, and those numbers are 666. Receipts are now constantly being found throughout the United States of America with a hidden 666 under the bottom of the receipt in a little box with a lot of little gray dots. Start watching for receipts and look in the box with a lot of gray or black dots underneath. With the aid of the light or with a magnifying glass, you will find often the number 666. Jimmy Carter has and is right now preparing a new secret police force. That's what it is, but it's not secret. This police force is a special military force for the President. This force, the National Security Force of the President, is a private military group of soldiers that answer to no one else but the President. It is at his disposal to handle the whole thing. Hear me. Hey, Jimmy Carter designed the patch emblem for that National Security Force. It is very similar to an emblem that is being used in an Australian bank right now. That emblem is an eagle, and it has 3 lines in Australia, 3 lines that are drawn and swooped down to form the wings and the feet. Except Jimmy Carter didn't bother with the real eagle's head on the front of that. But even there in Australia, those 3 lines form 3 sixes. The National Security emblem is a patch worn on the sleeve that has an eagle, futuristic eagle drawn in the middle. It is 3 lines swooping down to form a beak and then comes up like this with a dot in the middle to form the eye of the futuristic eagle. But it's not an eagle because if you turn it on its side, it's suddenly 666. And just in case there's any question about that, the Toledo Blade in March of 1978 carried a photograph of the Chrysler Corporation tank that is being built for the National Security Force for the President, and that tank, every one of them in stock, on the side of it in big, bold numbers, are 666. We are getting ready for a world government system. I take that back. The world's getting ready for it. I'm ready for Jesus to come. Thank God Jesus is coming. If you're not saved, you better get saved. If you are saved, you better sell out to God. Set Bible standards as your way of living. You better reach your loved ones and friends for Jesus Christ, because thank God this whole thing's just about over. Jesus is coming.